Would you like to impact 1 billion lives? Our alumni have innovated, created, successfully ran thousands of multi-billion-dollar organizations. Questions have changed. In the new world, how are we going to steer humanity? Today, I have a phenomenal guest, Ron Gupta. Ron Gupta is an architect. He's an IIT KGP alumni. IIT Kharagpur has even named a school to recognize his contribution to the future, especially the future of students. I deeply respect him for his philanthropic work. He's a role model for several IIT alumni, including me. Let's talk to him and hear his views on future. Ron, you are an architect turned futurist and philanthropist. How was your journey? Would you mind sharing with our audience how you got here?
Thank you. Thank you, Sanjiv. Architecture, in a generic way, means the art of creating something, art of producing something. So when I went to architecture undergraduate school in IIT, frankly, I did not know what architecture was, but I was fortunate. I had good teachers, and more importantly, I had very, very good classmates who knew a lot about architecture. So architecture is basically problem solving. You're presented a problem and you look at various alternatives, various ways of getting to a solution, and you solve it. In a traditional sense, architecture is about building the environment around you, building the buildings, planning the cities, and more in a physical sense. When I got an opportunity to come to the United States at Carnegie Mellon University in Pittsburgh, I decided that I needed to learn something new about architecture. So I enrolled in a lot of computer classes. And in fact, my thesis at the end of the second year was on computer-aided design. That how do we design...
Wait. Which year, Ron?
1971.
No way. So you learned computer-aided design in 1971. Wow.
That's correct. That's correct. That's correct.
Wow, that's phenomenal. We didn't even knew what is computer. I was like, well, I was not almost born, I guess. So 71 you learned. That is phenomenal. Can you tell us a little bit more about what was it? I mean, I'm really excited about 1971 and just the computer. How the hard drive looked like at that time? There was any hard drive?
Excellent question. We had a very good teacher, Chuck Eastman. He taught us Computers 101, and I took that class and got fascinated. And so I started, I learned programming. Programming was at that time called Watt 4, Watt 5, which were developed at the University of Waterloo. So you would write a program, and you would go to a punching machine, and you'll punch your program on a bunch of IBM cards, and then you'll take that stack and go to the computer room and let them run it in a batch mode, meaning one after the other. 1 hour later, you come back and get an output that there were 25 syntactical errors. So you go back, fix those, rerun it. Those days, I would be there pretty much all night until I got the computer program correct at the end of the night.
Wow, wow. That is so, that's, you know, I have read these things in the books and watched it in the movies, but you have done it. That is incredible. And
Yes.
now you have invited even the CEO of IBM, who happened to be an IIT alumni, as the speaker. That is just think of the contrast, Ron. I can't even wrap my head around that, from where you started and where you are today.
Yes, in terms of having a computer program draw for you, you have to create these coordinate systems. And there used to be a plotter at that time known as a Calcom plotter, a round drum type plotter, which will draw on it with a ballpoint pen. And so it'll go from coordinate to coordinate. So through a computer program, you created the sequence of these coordinates that you will take and then put it on a plotter, and it'll plot going from point to point. Through that, within 2 years, I created a computer program to draw three-dimensional perspectives.
Wow.
At that time, the only way you could do perspectives were by hand. You visualize, you draw them, and all that. So I created a computer program. It was well over 1,000 IBM cards. So at the end of that, I was able to produce a three-dimensional perspective. But anyway, so computers fascinated me at that time. And I got a job right after grad school, pretty much on the phone in Miami, where I started working on computer-aided design along with regular design. At that time, my focus shifted from computers to business. Then how do I, in fact, one of the first companies I created was Computer-Aided Design, which was simply called ICAD, and we started getting contracts with
This is
companies.
way before AutoCAD or any of those companies even was conceived.
AutoCAD came in around 1978, and we bought AutoCAD system. Went to Denver, Colorado to learn it and plan it. And so we started using computers, but I wanted to go a step ahead, that I could hire technicians to do architectural design on computers. So that was not a challenge for me anymore. The challenge was how to sell technology based on computers to clients. So I got into more technical fields, and so through that I started a company, and we had contracts basically on high technology. And then around 1989, I sold that company to a company in Pennsylvania that used to design power plants, nuclear power plants, and pharmaceutical. So they bought my company, and I was made head of the facilities group, which was close to 1,000 people.
Wow.
And there were 999 engineers and one architect.
That must be a pretty cool experience.
And so we designed nuclear power plants, fossil power plants, and all that. That was an amazing experience. And then I wanted to go to the next step, which is internet had just come into play, and people were demanding these buildings called data centers where you could process the data. And so in 2000, started a new company in New York called Sigma 7, that to design data centers primarily for the financial services industry, so that they could process all their transactions.
Wait, Ron, this is interesting. You know, when I read about it and when somebody talked about designing data center, in my head, what is so interesting about designing? It's just a damn warehouse with bunch of things. So I think it's the same question our audience has too, is why do you need your level of architect to design it? Can you talk a little bit more about it?
A good question. Now, when I designed them, I was not necessarily calling myself an architect. I was a data center designer. And the main thing in data center designs are availability, meaning Sigma 7 level of availability, which is basically no more than 3 seconds of failure in a year. And second was reliability. So we had to create these redundant systems that back up. You do single points of failure analysis to ensure that nothing fails, that you have data. And when 9/11 happened, my office was in New York, and I was viewing this horrible incident with my bare eyes. And my client, Bank of New York, which is now BNY Mellon, was at ground zero, right next to the World Trade Center. And one of their main data centers broke completely that day. But fortunately, they did have a backup system in New Jersey across the river. So they hired us at that time to come up with a short-term solution and a long-term solution.
So Ron, I have a question on that. And the question is more around, I know you for a little bit now. And what I realize is every time I talk to you, I find some other dimension of you. So can I say, because there was nothing before you started designing these data centers, this was like completely new thing. When you started even the designing the software in early 70s, there was nothing existing. So is that the curiosity or something in your head going on? Like what will be more interesting for our audience is why you, why not somebody else? Now, how you came up with these ideas even?
A good question. And let me go back just a little bit. When I was studying high school in my village in Haryana, knew virtually no English. Somehow my dad saw this advertisement for IIT exams in an Urdu newspaper. I took it and somehow made it to the last day of selection.
Wow.
And so I went to IIT Delhi for the interview, and the professor said, "Son, you only have one choice, architecture." I said, "I don't know what is architecture, but I'll take it." And okay. And I said, "So here in Delhi?" He says, "No, it's in Kharagpur." I said, "Where is Kharagpur?"
Is it in India?
Where IIT, what architecture was, what Kharagpur was. But I've always been very curious about going into new things. Never bothered me going into new things. Wanted to get into new things so that you have a new challenge. So the question of why not somebody else? I really didn't worry about that. That's not the issue. The issue is there's a challenge and you know you can meet it. And that's it. So anyway, I know going further.
But Ron, wait. I want to know a little bit more about that kid from Haryana. That's more interesting to our audience than anything else. Nobody cares about you are a program chair. I really want to know what was going in your head when you even appear for IIT examination. Because today, kids goes like from nursery class, they've been sent to quota and all the crazy thing they've go through. It's just phenomenal. Can you tell a little bit more about your childhood and something more interesting?
Well, I was fortunate. I was born in free India, so they just started schools. In my village, there was a one-room school they just had built. They had 2 grades at that time. My father went to 2 grades. My mother never went to school. And so I was admitted to that school, and we were learning under a tree, and they were teaching us, became a middle school, and then had to go to a nearby town for high school. And fortunately, I did well in high school. And when IIT exam came, we didn't know about IITs. We didn't know what IIT was. So just went to the exam, took the exam. There was no coaching, there was nothing. Didn't know much English at all. And but today, of course, as you know, it's totally different.
Yeah.
But IIT, and I want to talk about IIT, really not about me. IIT gave me the opportunity to really learn about my strengths and my weaknesses so that I could think and learn how to learn. And that's what IIT taught us. That doesn't matter what the problem is, you can solve it. And so IIT has been great to me, no question. And they've given me opportunities. Kharagpur itself, and in the US, when I approached IIT about doing something, they said immediately, we want to do something on infrastructure. So that gave me the opportunity to start a school of infrastructure back in 2008. And and I've been, again, very fortunate that KGP Foundation here involved me, and I've been extremely involved with them. And then Pan IIT, I've had opportunities to do things for IITs as a whole, which is very fascinating. And so, no, I'm curious and like to get into newer and newer things. That keeps your life interesting, busy, and thinking all the time.
So Ron, in last few minutes, I've learned so much about you. I didn't know that. And I just want you to know, when I heard your name before I even joined the Pan IIT board, you are a role model. And not just for me, you are a role model for several other IITians, because what you have done and what you have contributed to IIT and education in general. And now, especially now, knowing about from where you came and how you have built your life, it's an example that what is possible just by curiosity, what is possible by taking chances. I mean, you came to United States and you did your postdoc, I'm assuming?
No, it was master's
program. Yeah. So master's program, and you saw computers. I don't believe that it was required for you to go and learn these programming for your course, right?
Nope, not at all. I'd heard about computers. I said, I want to get into it. And so immediately signed up for computer classes.
That's very unique. And I believe this is very important for our conference and our audience to know that you can be anyone you want to be. All you need is curiosity and perseverance. Work hard for it. You were not even sleeping, you mentioned, like for days when you are doing coding and programming and creating these new kind of software. Wow.
No, I think, Sanjiv, you're absolutely correct. We have to have a focus, develop that focus and concentrate on it. And a couple of things I've learned along the way, that we cannot solve world hunger problems, or at least I cannot. So I try not meddle into things that I'm focusing on. So I focus on things I can impact. And let others, there are lots and lots of other brilliant, hardworking people in this world. And let others solve those issues, those problems. Let me focus on what's in front of me and let others focus. And if you do that, by the way, I would recommend a book called 7 Habits of Highly Effective People.
Stephen Covey.
And that teaches you those 7 habits.
Yeah.
And you just take one out of those 7 and practice that for a month. Take the second one and third one. Your life will change.
Thank you.
And one of the key things there is focus on something you want to focus on.
Actually, you already answered my next question. My next question was, and maybe you can add a little bit more light. As you know, majority of our audience are either entrepreneur or they want to be entrepreneur, or they want to change the world, and they are looking for ways how they can help the society and how they can help global community. So question is, what are the traits for a successful entrepreneur?
Well, I think one of the traits for a successful entrepreneur, even failing is a good trait. Failing and then getting back up is a trait. And failing multiple times and still getting up is an excellent trait. And in my viewpoint, just doing the best you can is a good trait. And if everybody in this world did the very best they can, there'll be no problems in the world.
Yeah, so true, so true. Yeah, if we really push ourselves to the limits and we push ourselves further, I'm sure we can change a lot of things about our world.
Right. And as I said before, I cannot solve the world hunger problem, but there are people who think at a global level and they can solve those problems. There are people who look at people at a regional level, other levels, political level, and if they succeed in those, they can solve those problems.
And let's work with them and collaborate with them, and that is our attempt for IIT 2020 Summit, where we are talking about future. Future is Absolutely. Now, and it's a global virtual event. So, Ron, you are the program chair of this event, and it's not a typical summit, as you and me both know. This is a very unique summit because the times are very different. So would you mind sharing with our audience that why future is now and why IIT 2020?
Okay. Yes, we are going through a very challenging time with the unforeseen problems. And that's what future is about, to be able to solve unforeseen problems. To me, future is every day. And we have to be prepared for whatever happens tomorrow or day after tomorrow. And that's what this conference is about. We've tried to gather experts, thinkers, and other people who have solved problems in certain specific areas, and then there are people who solve problems in multiple areas. So we want to get, the economy. What is the economy? The concept of economy has changed over centuries and centuries. Okay, from a barter system to the system we have today to fintech of tomorrow, and it'll continue to change. Same thing with health. We can now probably tell what problems I'm going to face 20 years from now. But it'll keep on changing. There'll be newer and newer challenges. Same thing with technology. And and technology is growing fast, but there is no end to it. Starting from the abacus in the old Chinese way, where we added using an abacus, onto slide rules and calculators, to machines and electronic methods of communicating, now looking at mind waves and electronic waves, and then looking at fluid dynamics, how things can be done using that medium. So the future is learning, future is limitless, but we have to think as if it's now, as if I'm solving the problems that may occur tomorrow. And if we continue thinking that there is no problem too big for us, then future is now. And we keep on solving the problems of tomorrow.
So Ron, I would like to deep dive a little bit about one specific area, which you touch upon.
Sure.
And for one big reason is you have seen world better than all of us. You started your career in 70s. And not to make you feel old, but you have seen all the different natural calamities to financial meltdowns several times, including 9/11. So question I have for you is why this is so different than the problems you dealt with in past? And more specifically, let's push it a little bit more around global economy, because we have faced these kind of problems several times in past. What is so unique today?
Well, to be honest with you, Sanjeev, we face problems and we solve them. And we're facing a great problem today, which people are solving and looking at. And there will be problems which may be more great than they are today. And in fact, there will be. That's what this world is about. That there's a saying from Talmud. The Talmud is a Jewish religious book that if there is no solution, there is no problem.
That's a good one. I never heard that.
Okay, meaning every problem is solvable, and if it is not solvable, it's not a problem.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't get worried about problems. We'll solve it. And if we can solve it, heck, it's not a problem.
Okay, so just being as a program chair, Ron, I wanted to ask one more question. You and me both know your role is really very difficult because there are a lot of amazing people. We have 500,000 IITian globally in 100 plus countries. We have phenomenal speakers in America itself, and we have a global reach. So you picked some very, very, really amazing, phenomenal speakers. Question I have for you is, what is in for me as an audience? I'm going to spend so much time watching these content and sometimes sleepless night if I'm in different time zone. Why will I attend this event? Or why should I attend this event?
Yeah, good question, good question. First of all, I gotta be very humble here. I didn't pick all of the speakers. There are lots and lots of other great people involved in helping select them. And I think what we are looking for are people who give us some idea of a new direction that they've used successfully or unsuccessfully. We try to get the best in each of these fields. And one of the ones I'm very excited about is this fellow, Bob Balram, who's an IIT Madras graduate and works for NASA.
He's the guy who make those flying, drone or something, right?
He's designed a helicopter that's going to fly on Mars. Now it's already built, and it's already on.
And he's IIT Madras alum?
Yes.
Wow, that's huge.
And this helicopter is already on its way to Mars aboard the rover. It'll get there in April 2021.
Wow.
And then it'll fly on Mars.
And he's working with NASA or Elon Musk? I mean, who is going to carry this?
No, this is being carried by the US rover that's going to Mars.
Nice.
That's,
wow.
No, that's on its way already to Mars. And it won't get there until April 2021.
Because it's so far.
Yes, it's so far. And about how miniature things have to get. The total weight of this helicopter, including the rotors and all the technology, is 1.5 kilograms.
No way.
This whole helicopter, weighs 1.5 kilograms.
And how much can it carry? How much weight it can carry?
I have no idea,
Wow.
but it's got the sensing devices and all of those.
Yeah, that's what
And in this conference, I invite you all that are listening to please come to that session on space exploration, where Bob Balram will be speaking, and along with General James, who is the Assistant Director of the NASA for this project, will be there as well. And again, depending on how much time you have, I do want to go back and add for a minute another experience that I had back in 1977. I got an opportunity to design a device that could lift a space shuttle, future space shuttle that was being designed, and put it on top of a 747 so that it could fly piggyback from Cape Canaveral to Edwards in California.
Wow.
I designed the model with matchsticks.
Wow.
And as a result of that, the astronauts who were involved in that program gave me a certificate and a medal. That program was called Approach and Landing Test for the space shuttle. And this was done 3 years before the first space shuttle ever took off. But anyway, so there's a connection with the space that I want to bring in.
Ron, you are phenomenal. I mean, every time, as I mentioned earlier, I talk to you, I know so much things you have done. And that's the reason, you inspired so many people personally. And people like you taking a lead and picking the right speaker is very important for the conference. But for our audience, what I want to add to that is the whole team, volunteer team, has worked with Ron, and we have created an amazing program. And there are some mystery speakers. We can't give you the name. There are a lot of phenomenal mystery speakers Ron is working on. So we are waiting for approvals. It's very exciting. So every conference, when we do, or any conference you go to, they do two things amazingly well. One is educate you, so you have a lot of learning. Second, they inspire you. Where majority of the organizations or summits fail is execution. The difference we have when we talk about IIT 2020, and as you can see what Ron has done personally in his own life, we talk about execution. We believe ideas are great, ideas are dime a dozen. It's not about idea alone. So we have the complete infrastructure for you to take your company to the next level, or your idea to the next level, or even if you are not ready to be an entrepreneur, we are going to launch some phenomenal programs for you to be an entrepreneur or anything you want to. But the big difference we have over other summits or organizations is we will provide you tools so you can go and execute these learnings. And that's really, that's the biggest difference in my opinion. Ron, correct me if I'm wrong.
No, absolutely correct. And I'll add to that, that in this conference, we have 8 different tracks of sessions. And after 2 days of the session, people will go back to their own jobs, whatever jobs they're working on. What I ask each viewer is just pick one thing out of this conference that you want to apply to your life in some fashion, and go back and apply that the very next day. And if everybody did that, then we'll feel this was a successful conference.
Very well said, Ron. And that's how we will change the future. And that's what you talk about it. The term you coin is architect of the future. So now I have an interesting question, since you are an architect, and I'm just curious because now I know in 1970s, you designed the software for architecture, and you saw how the software for architecture has changed the world, whether it's AutoCAD or you have ArcGIS and 100 other technologies where we use graphics to really analyze the whole earth and every single thing about us. Let's talk about the future of architects. Do you think artificial intelligence, machine learning, deep learning, all those learnings we talk about, new technologies can change this complete design, or is it going to make architect obsolete? Or to expand it further is, what should they be doing? It's the future of architect, what they should be doing and learning today. And it's a pretty big loaded question.
No, Sanjiv, it's a good question. And I've faced that similar question many times when I was promoting use of computers in architecture. I was the chairman of the AIA National Committee. And in every group I go to say, well, use the computers, they say, well, I can draw faster myself than use computers. Okay, so those are questions you'll continue to face in any new thing you bring in. But any technology or any development actually helps you achieve more and more, quicker, faster, and better. Meaning you use the technology, whether it's artificial intelligence, machine learning, or computer-aided design, it helps you produce more. Now, people used to ask me, will there be companies known as architecture companies and computer-aided design companies? I said computer-aided design is a temporary name. And in a few years, it will become a commonplace. It'll become the new normal. Meaning if you didn't use computers to do architecture, you won't exist anymore. And so that's what with technology is, artificial intelligences. That in a few years, if you didn't use artificial intelligence, then you won't be doing the business you're doing right now. So these are things that become part of normal life as we go and develop further and further.
So Ron, I would like to expand a little bit further. And I have interviewed the heads of AI from Google, Microsoft, and Amazon. I couldn't find anyone, surprisingly. But talked to 3 major amazing companies, C-level or VP level executives in AI. And everybody's talking about this AI is a big thing, is going to solve all the problems. You put it out there. How far is it from the reality? And there is a lot of fear in people's mind that AI is going to take their jobs away.
Let me, yesterday actually in the Washington Post, there was an article, headline was this fellow Suraj Nandan, I hope I'm saying that last name correctly, he's from IIT Guwahati, and he's doing a huge amount of work on AI, using AI in COVID-19 situations. And he says he just inputted millions of billions of bytes of data, and he's getting results that he didn't know what to expect. And so he's finding patterns. And that's what problem solving is grabbing at patterns of solutions and combining them to create some big solution. Now, artificial intelligence is a tool. It'll always be a tool, okay? And it may do a lot of things we do, but then a lot of new things will come up and we'll go beyond artificial intelligence, do something else, okay? So it's not going to eliminate any jobs. Computers did not eliminate jobs. Machines did not eliminate jobs. Going back to the French revolutions in terms of knitting and all that, they did not eliminate jobs. So that's not the issue. The issue is how we can create newer things, better things for ourselves and for the society.
So what I hear from you, Ron, is really in last 50 plus years of your journey as a technologist, as an entrepreneur, few things you have learned and you have shared with us. But the big thing I hear from you is we have to continue to learn. If we continue to learn, we will find ways to make our world better, to make humanity better. If we look back 50 years ago, the quality of life, some people may or may not agree to that, but technological advancement has made our life it's very different. And I will say definitely easier in terms of the air conditioning to infrastructure we have everywhere available. Learning is far more inexpensive and accessible. Now a kid in a village where he has nothing, he can get lessons from MIT professors. In your time and my time even, we didn't have that luxury. And that is what really driving the future and the future of the humanity, where information and education is available to all. And once we have that, the level playing field, then humanity has to rise, and it will rise. And every time such challenges come, it rises. Am I correct?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And again, I say that about the IIT system, how it's different than other systems, that you learn how to learn. And even here, I remember I took my daughter for selecting her college, and we went to Yale so that she could check it out if she wanted to go there. And so I remember they asking a question of the potential students: if you know what you want to do already, then don't come to Yale. Go somewhere else.
Oh, that's cool. That's a good one. I like it because most time people say, hey, you know what? If you don't know, don't come here. Yale is different. That's interesting. Very interesting.
Yep.
So you come and explore.
Yep, come and explore, and then decide what you want to do. And even then, and I'm saying, I'm an example, I don't do architecture, the plain architecture anymore, that you have to learn to adapt, learn new things, and keep on changing as the world around you changes.
So, jokingly, so I lived in Silicon Valley and I spent a lot of time around different startups and got engaged in several of those things. And just like you, not at your level, but I continue to learn and I wanted to grow. And not because I have to do something, it's just learning inspires me. Every day I get out of bed, I say, wow, there is something interesting I can do and solve. So the way I define AI ML to the people is, you may agree or disagree to that. We are outsourcing the job of thinking to computers. But as a human, we are explorers. We will find new frontiers. And for that, we need to leave that to machines so we can explore space, we can explore new diseases cure, we can explore our ocean, we can explore new kind of food, we can find ways how to fix the global economy or solve the global economical challenges, which is what the core topic of our conference. What do you think about that?
No, absolutely. Artificial intelligence and such advancements let you use your brain more and more into doing other things. So, it's a tool that helps you make decisions. Ultimately, still, even with AI, the ultimate decision making still comes back to a human being in some sense, where we say, well, the machine can decide this and keep on doing all of that. That's well and good. But then we have to think of newer tools that can go beyond those as well. And that's what these conferences are. Listen to these 70 different speakers speak on different topics and see if one or two that really got to you, that you really want to explore. Then somehow find a way to connect with that speaker and continue on. And I think that's what this conference is about, to presenting what's happening in this world to you so that you can take one or two of these back.
So Ron, that brings to almost to the end of our segment. I can't thank you enough for your time. This is what I have learned in last 45 minutes of our conversation. Number one, if you want to be like Ron, focus on learning. Because if you are not learning, you will be obsolete soon. And look at him, the desire he has, even after all the accomplishment and things he has done, he's still learning. He's still looking at things very differently. And that's what makes us unique. That's what makes us architect of the future. Second is fail fast. And the last one is be curious. If you are not curious, I don't know what you will be doing. Curiosity has solved every single problem on the planet, and that's how we will go and do it. I'm Sanjiv Goyal, conference chair of IIT2020.org, Pan IIT USA's mega virtual event, and I invite you to this unique opportunity, an opportunity to join, co-invent, and co-define paradigms for this new world. Please register at IIT2020.org. Our event is open to all. Every single citizen, global citizen who wants to participate, please register. Thank you very much.
Thank you.